Okay, so this is just a really quick video. I know some people have been commenting, I got this new camera and this thing is a light hog because it does a lot higher definition recording. It requires a lot more light. So, I guess, and I'm not a camera expert, but apparently the higher you get in definition, it's the curve for how much light you need for good resolution goes up, I guess, at the same time. And I noticed that with if you don't have enough light, yeah, the pictures get really grainy. So I'd been using just a kind of well, actually it's still laying over here. I just took it off of the ceiling. It was an old work light, okay, that was 120 volt. Years ago I took this thing, kind of just home brewed. These were a bunch of leftovers I had. They were tail light bulbs, I think they're 1157 white LED tail light bulbs, replacement bulbs. Just cut out a piece of plastic, shoved it in a hole, pulled out the 120 volt wiring, stuck a toggle switch in it, and ran it off a small little 12 volt power supply, and it worked fine for working on stuff. But I guess the light spectrum out of that light is kind of out of whack. So I'm curious once I get this video on the computer to see what this one looks like. But with that light, it gave everything kind of a blue tinge. So, and some people have commented about that. Mike, what's up with the blue videos? So I'm trying to get rid of the blue videos. So what I got, I was thinking about getting just let me turn this radio down over here. I was thinking about getting maybe a track light or maybe a 4-foot fluorescent fixture, and of course I've pretty much switched everything I have over to, especially like ceiling lights. Years ago switched over to compact fluorescents, and then I've since switched over to LEDs. And while I'm standing there looking at the lights, I was like, well, they make 4-foot fluorescent style light fixtures in LED now, so take a look at them, we'll give them a try. So that's what this is. The main thing, or the main problem I have with LED lights, and even some fluorescent lights, is they're noisy. I work on radios, so I've got enough noise to contend with here. I've got, at any given time, maybe 2 or 3 battery chargers I might have plugged in. Those things are RF generating monsters. I've had some other lights before that I had to get rid of because they were too noisy. And this one, it's going to be in this room right over the bench, so I wanted a quiet light, so I reluctantly got one. It was probably the second to most expensive one that they had at Lowe's today. And I'm happy to say it's quiet in the RF spectrum. So the light, we'll have to see. I got to get this video on a computer and see what it looks like, see if the bench looks bluish and everything. But yeah, it's a lot more light. So now there's a 4-foot light centered right about here, right up on the ceiling. 4 foot, it's centered right about here, and then 4 or 2 feet in either direction. So it got a lot more light on the bench. Here is actually the box for the light. Because like I say, I'm actually, if I can get this thing flipped around here without knocking anything over. It's a Utilitech Pro, and the only one they had basically that was more expensive than this in Lowe's and a standard 2 light. You can see it's a fairly narrow little thing. It basically is a little bit smaller than your standard 2 light fluorescent light fixture. Probably like 2/3 the width this way. But the only one they had more expensive than this in kind of a utility light, not a home lighting light, but like a utility light, was one that was made by GE. That one was around $78 or $79. This one was, if I can remember where I put the receipt, it was, well, is it right there? Utilitech LED, 4F LED, $52.48. So there's the box. Like I say, Utilitech flush mount ceiling fixture. Somewhere on here it does have the color spectrum. It's on the back, right there. So, and this one falls right in the middle, and that's another reason actually I did not buy the GE, the more expensive one. It was actually more of a daylight light, which of course daylight has a lot more blue light in it. And that was the problem I was having here, was blue light. So yeah, I wanted to try and get towards the yellow to red end of the spectrum a little bit, you know, basically more centered in the white area here. So that's the light. So like I say, my main concern was RF noise though. So what I've got set up, spectrum analyzers turned on. I mainly work on CBs, so that's where I'm really worried. Now I work on other amateur radios too, and the rest of the HF spectrum, VHF and whatnot, but I really don't want any noise on CB. Now I've checked all the other bands, it looks fine on those, but right now what I actually have on the spectrum analyzer is just the CB band. So I've got the span set with a start frequency of 26965, stop frequency of 27.405, so that's all 40 channels being displayed on there. And what I have attached to it is just a small whip antenna. You can see goes up right there, whoop, ends right about there. That's actually off of an IFR communications test set. That's just attached straight to the input, no attenuator. The only thing on there is a DC block. And you can see the light there. Now I have the light actually just plugged in. It's meant for hard wiring, but I have it on a plug because I wasn't sure if it was going to work okay or not. And still, until I see the video on a computer, don't know how the light spectrum is going to look. But if I unplug it, the main thing is the tip of that antenna. So you know, this antenna, the farthest it's apart is probably, you know, the tip of that antenna up to that light fixture. You're looking at like 3.5 to 4 feet maybe. So that's all the farther that light fixture is away from that antenna. And that's just the noise floor right there at that span with that resolution bandwidth and video bandwidth, because video bandwidth is what, 10 kilohertz. Resolution bandwidth is also 10 kilohertz. And with that span, that's about the noise floor you'd normally expect to see. So if I unplug the light, the main thing is you can see nothing happens. There's no difference. Plug it in, unplug it, plug it in, unplug it. Completely noise-free. Woohoo! So, out of curiosity here, let's just, I don't know, let's try the 2 meter band. So, frequency, start 144 megahertz, and then we want the stop frequency at, let's stick in 148 megahertz, and we'll do the same thing. So 144 to 148 megahertz right there, and I'll unplug it, plug it in. Yeah, nothing. It's just quiet. Impressive for an LED light. Like I say, man, I've had so many of these things that are noisy. I don't know, what other band should we try? I guess we could try going down in frequency, see if there's any. We'll just set it at like 1.8 megahertz for the start. Let's see, 1.8 megahertz. Let's check a bigger swath. So let's cover from 160 meters to, let's say, I don't know, 20 meters. So we'll go to like 14.25. 14.25 megahertz. And I can see there's some transmissions there, but main thing is, does the noise floor change? Unplug it, plug it in, no difference. Excuse me. Other than, hold on, I need a drink. Whew, had a frog jump down my throat. The only thing I saw there was, there were a couple little quick spikes, and that's going to be from when I'm plugging it in, you know, probably just a little arc at the outlet. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing. So it's good up to 14.25. So let's go from there. 14.25 megahertz up to, well, let's see, we did the CB band, so we'll go up to 12 meters. So that would be 24 point, what the hell's that end at? 12 meters is what, 24.99, I think. 24.99 megahertz. And again, plugged in, unplugged. Oh man, this thing is quiet. And let's just go from 148. For you guys who like operating in higher frequencies, We'll just go from 148. Oh, heck with it. We'll just go the whole way out to the end of the 23 centimeter band. So 1.3 gigahertz. 3 gigahertz. No, not start frequency, you nitwit. 148 megahertz. Actually, that's going to have the span set so blasted wide as to be ridiculous. Let's go out to, I don't know, let's say 70 centimeters. The end of that, 450 megahertz. So, again, unplug. No change. And then from 450 megahertz to the end of 1.3 gigahertz. So that's from 450 megahertz, or basically the end of the 70 centimeter band, all the way up to the end of the 23 centimeter band. And again, see one little spike there I saw when I first plugged it in, just to arc at the outlets. All that's going to be. Yeah, that's quiet, man. So if you're looking for a 4-foot shop light in LEDs, I can recommend this light. It's quiet. And that's the other thing. Look at the voltage range this thing operates on, from 120 to 277 volts. I did tear it apart because this has the wires come out in the middle. This is meant for, because it is a flush mount light, has the wires come out the top of the fixture. Of course I have to modify everything I own, but I wanted to run this off of a cord. So I actually drilled a hole in the end cap and put a strain relief in the end. Yeah, so I'm not sure how I got onto that, but anyhow, like I say, good light. It's got 2 strips inside of it, so you're not going to see the inside, but what I was getting at was, it does have 2 power modules in it. It has a separate power supply module for each one of those strips of LEDs inside, and those power supplies output is at 36 volts. I forget what the current draw was on it, but they're 36 volt DC power supplies. So there you go. I just wanted to show. We'll get this uploaded. Do you think the lighting looks better now? Not as blue, I'm hoping. This light seemed to have, down towards the red end of the spectrum, more, more centered in the light spectrum. So I think this should be a little bit better. And if this looks good on camera, I may actually get another one of these to stick right behind me to replace the normal ceiling light fixture I have back there, which will give me even a little bit more light in here. But yeah, I think this looks good, man. There's only one problem I'm foreseeing. I'm one of those people that's kind of finicky about dirt and dust on my workbench and whatnot. So yeah, I can really see the dirt. The instant I plugged this thing in, I was like, oh my God, look at all the dust on everything. So yeah, I gotta get to doing some dust in here, because man, having all this light in here, I can see how dirty the tops of all the equipment and shelves and whatnot is. It was just stuff I couldn't really notice before because it was kind of dim in here. So there you go, new light fixture. Like I say, very quiet, at least up to 23 centimeters. Impressive for an LED light. So I guess manufacturers are finally starting to realize, I guess they were getting a lot of complaints from people, or either that or just a good light. Like I say, it's not like it was a cheapy $20 light. It was $53. So, but I like it, and I'm probably going to get more. So there you go.